What is up, everybody, and welcome back to a new video. It is Dynamic here, and today I'm going to be doing a tier list with my brother. We are going to be ranking part 1 of MLW players. Today is just going to be the AL, so yeah, these are going to be our rankings for every single player in the AL. Okay, and today we're going to be starting with, that looks like Liam Jaxen for the Wildcats. Liam Jaxen, you know, he was traded from the Magic. He's all right. What do you think?
Okay, well, yeah, obviously he's kind of been a more inconsistent hitter, but I would like his whole career. This season, though, which is what I believe we're judging this off of, I say he's actually been a very helpful part to this Wildcats offense, and that's all they need him to do is at least get some kind of consistency there. I'm thinking maybe C to D tier, but probably around C just because he's been more of a positive.
Next, we're going to let's go to Rudy Ramirez. It's kind of an interesting one. Rudy, I feel like he's been kind of a mean player. If I'm not mistaken, he was in the All-Fun game, right? He was the hitting coach.
That was before he was a player, though.
Yeah, exactly. He's been kind of all over the place. Now he's just a hitter, right? He doesn't pitch at all.
He doesn't do anything, that's it.
Yeah, so what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think this obviously he's a likable guy, but I think he's an F. He's batting, terrible, below 100, which is never good. And he's gotten more at bats than Liam Jaxen.
That's kind of crazy. That's kind of
like
crazy.
He's actually getting on there, but he's just not good. I know he's a good athlete. And he's a funny guy. He's just not that good.
No, I agree with that. Let's move on here. Why don't we go to Trevor Bonham? He's had a interesting season so far. I think he's been pretty good. He's been the Magic's second arm, obviously, but also been pretty good at the plate. His batting percentage isn't super high. He's at a 143 batting percentage, but he gets on base a lot. He gets a lot of walks, and he puts the ball in play.
Yeah, as you said, he's batting around just 143. So but the one thing you don't want to forget is his efficiency on the mound, right? Being the second guy behind the rookie, RJ, I would probably have to put him in B because he did miss the All-Star.
Wow, that's it. Okay, I would put him in A, but if you're gonna put him in B,
I need him to actually be hitting the ball for it to be an A.
Okay, our next player now is Jack Aigner, sticking with the Magic for this one. I love Jack Aigner personally as a guy, and I know I said this last video, but he hasn't been great this season. I could see him ending in the C to D range, but I think there's also some worth as a manager. The way we're rating these players isn't just about pitching, isn't just about hitting, it's also about fielding, you know what I mean? It's about attitude, it's about, managers for the way they manage and stuff like that. So I could see him floating around the C to D rating. What do you think?
I think, well, you already know my opinions on Jack Aigner.
Yeah.
I think he's a cool guy, but I also think he's possibly the, lowest value in possibly the entire league, but right above
lowest value is crazy.
I'm sorry, he makes bad trades and he's not good. He's batting again below 100 with 22 at bats.
There's a lot of players batting below 100 in MLW.
Okay, but I mean, I don't know. You mix that with, like you said, the management, which he hasn't been good. Yes, he 2 great draft picks this year, but I mean, the first overall pick was a no-brainer, and the second one, is a really high upside guy that you can take a chance on. Those are his 2 positive things he's done in his career. Again, I like him as a guy. He's not good. So I have D to F. You can put him where you think.
I'm gonna put him. I think he's D to C. I'll put him in D. You're very hard on these players. You're being weird. Okay.
I do think he's a D.
All right, next we're going to move on to Nick Saylor. I like Nick Saylor a lot as a guy. He kind of gives me the same vibes that Aigner gives me personality-wise, where he's just a really good person. I like Nick Saylor a lot. I'd put him at the B rating this year. I think he's kind of where Trevor Bonham is. Obviously a much better hitter, but he's not as dynamic as Trevor Bonham. He's hitting right now 242, which isn't bad. But, he also has 2 home runs, which is pretty good. And, he gets the ball in play, so I like him a lot for that.
Yeah, for me, I'd say usually I'd put him around the A tier. I think he's the definition of an A tier player. This season, though, he's probably at a B. I'd like to see him at this point around 3 to 4 home runs and I know Jaxen Pearson's having somewhat of a breakout year, but I'd still want to see him that second on the team. So I agree. I think B is the good spot.
That's a good one. And we're sticking with the Wildcats here. We're going on to Ty Smith. I just put a black box with Ty Smith. I thought that'd be funny because he's been pretty absent this year. But Ty Smith, there's not a lot to be said. I'm pretty sure...
I don't even remember him playing.
Yeah, for that reason, I do want to put him in F, but I think he's like a D tier player. There's not much to be said. I think he had a good rookie year, but just barely played.
I know Ty Smith is, at his best, he's a C player, but he's probably a D player.
Not much to be said there. All right, moving on to Ryan Cratch. Cratch has been playing pretty well, despite his team not playing super well. I think his stats look pretty good. If I remember, he's hitting .344 from the plate, and he's pitching pretty well as well. So, for me, he's an S tier player to an A tier. What do you think?
Yeah, again, his team's not playing good at all. Right, MVP.
Yeah, MVP.
And then also elite in the box. So I would definitely give him S tier. I think he's. I don't think there's more than 3 S tier players. I haven't even thought about it, but I think he's one of 3.
Yeah, in this league, right, or just in the AL?
in the league.
Okay, moving on. We're gonna go to Grant Miller. He's a rookie. Made the All-Stars. He's one of the best hitters. He's probably the lead runner to go for Silver Slugger this year. He's hitting .409 from the plate, and he has 3 home runs, which is really good. I'd put him A tier. Where do you think he fits in?
Yeah, it's always interesting grading rookies, and you tend, with players in general, to think about their career, at least last season, like with people like Nick Saylor or Bonham. Since this is only a year, you just grade him as a player who he is, and he's an A player. Obviously not good at the pitching where he was, in that first game, but it doesn't matter because he's a really good fielder, and he's an even better, batter. So.
And I know some people are going to say that, he's an MVP candidate, and it makes no sense that we're putting him in A. Once again, we're grading these players off of how complete of a player they are. The only S-tier players should be players that are great from the mound and great from the plate. There shouldn't be any S-tier players that are just really good from one spot, and that's what we're grading them on, as complete players. So I want to make that clear.
S-tier players are the most valuable players in the league, and while Grant is very valuable, he has an offer from both sides. He's not a two-way player.
I agree with that. Next, we have Chris Baranoski from the Cobras. We haven't seen a lot of him this year, not because he hasn't been showing up, but because Drew has decided not really to play him too much. He is hitting 0 from the plate, but he hasn't had that much experience. What do you think? Where should we put him?
He's around D. You only give F to players who have proven why they're F. He doesn't prove his F. He just doesn't prove anything.
But he's close because he hasn't really played. Sticking with the Cobras, we're going to go to Sawyer Behen. He's an all-star, but in my opinion, he should not have been an all-star. He's been pretty good from the mound. From the plate, he's hitting 185, so not too bad either. But in my opinion, he's like a B-tier player. He's not like an A-tier and S-tier player. What do you think he deserves?
Yeah, he's pitched the most innings out of any Cobra this year, beating Brendon Baranoski by basically 1.
Which makes sense because Brendon Baranoski's 0-4.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that later.
While he is a all-star, I would be for sure.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Sticking with the Cobras once again, Sean Flynn. I like Sean Flynn a lot. I think he's super, super underrated. He's not hitting super well, which is kind of weird because I thought he was hitting super well until I checked his stats. He's only hitting 105 from the plate, but his fielding is super good too. And, he hits, home runs and he hits doubles. You know what I mean? He doesn't just get on base. He's good for that reason too. So I'm feeling like he's also a B tier player, maybe a C tier. What do you think?
Yeah, Sean Flynn, not an all-star. I believe he didn't make one last year. 2 home runs on the year, though. While his batting average isn't great, he's definitely getting them out there, and he's a good spark plug for them. Mm-hmm. So I think Behen's just more valuable, especially because his batting average is better. Mm-hmm. So I'd put him at C.
Yeah, I like that. I think he's definitely a C tier player. Sean Flynn. Moving on, let's go with Brendon Baranoski. Baranoski was the Cy Young last year. From the plate, he doesn't hit super well, but also hasn't really had that many games from the plate. He hasn't had that many chances, so I'm not going to really count him off too much for that. He's solid this year, and I've gone over that in my last video, that he's been solid this year. He just needs to step up, and also his record from the mound is 0-4, which is not good. But what do you think? What tier does he belong? Because in my opinion, he's the most confusing player to rate.
Yes, last year's Cy Young winner. One of the most elite pitchers, very hard to hit off of. He brought his team to the World Series. But this year, he's been bad, not winning a game yet, and being even worse. Although he hasn't had too many at-bats, he's not been good at all. He's basically an automatic out. So I'm feeling B range, and he's on the if he continues the second half of his season like this, he's borderline C, which is really weird considering he was A easily last year.
Yeah, he was really good. Let's move on. We're gonna go with Jaxen Pearson. I like Pearson a lot as a player. I've stated this before in my videos, and he's taken a huge jump this year. In my opinion, he's an A tier list player. That's the only tier he fits in for me. What do you think? He could be an S maybe later in his career, just because he's proven he's good at the plate and at the mound, which is once again the criteria for being an S tier player for us. But right now he's an A for me.
Yeah, I believe he's an A. He's on the up and come up, especially this season. Pitched 4 complete games at least, and has those split, but also only with a 5 as his ER is really nice considering he's pitched 4 games. They don't hit well in those 4 games, or in the 2 that they lost. But also a very dynamic offensive player. Had that walk-off against the Magic, finally breaking that streak against RJ. I think, he's almost batting 300, easily an A player, and a really good, development of these things.
Yeah, let's move on to some of these Predators players. We got to get a couple of them out the way. Let's start with McGlade. I think Stephen McGlade is such a weird player in the MLW because he lasted so long, and I only started watching MLW last year, and I've never seen him be even close to serviceable.
Yeah.
Not to be rude. I just haven't seen him be good. And I think that's something that is important when you're trying to win games.
Yes, I agree. And we already know that or I don't know how much your viewers know, but you never have been a big fan of Steve McGlade. I always liked him last year at least. I thought he was a really serviceable second pitcher behind Crash. This year he's been terrible. On both aspects, so I'd say this season he's probably an F.
I'm not a huge fan of him. I hope he gets to a point where he's, at least at the point he was last year. Still wasn't a big fan, but last year was better than this year for sure. Brendon Russel next. I think Brendon Russel is super, super valuable to this team, but this year he almost looks half asleep to me. And he doesn't look super, super smooth. I thought he was like the home run king last year. Like that's what I knew him for. Yeah, he's the guy that hits bombs. But I don't know.
I kind of disagree with you. I think he was a borderline all-star this year. He definitely could have made it over some of the people that did make it. He has 2 home runs. And obviously could have had a 3rd if he wasn't robbed, against the Mallards there. But he's having a very consistent batting year this year. And he's easily their second best player on the plate behind Crash. So I give him B to C tier. High C to low B, but I guess
I'd give him.
I'll put him B.
I want him B because I know I just talked bad about him, but I like him a lot as a player. I just think this year he hasn't been as good.
He hasn't been bad this year, though. That's the thing. He's been basically the same. He just hasn't had as many home runs.
To me, out of this B tier, he's better than everyone except Saylor and Bonham.
Everyone in the B tier is borderline all-stars this season.
Yeah.
Whether they made it or not.
Mm-hmm.
He's B because he was so good last year.
Andy Durand hasn't played.
Yeah,
he literally hasn't played. It's not like he's played 1 game. He hasn't played a single game.
Yeah, so I guess F.
There was that one series, I forget who they were playing. It might have been the Diamondbacks, and they were in a different field. I remember it was like cornfields, and he went crazy.
Yeah, that was the Field of Dreams.
And I thought that he was going to be like really, really good for the rest of the season, and he was all right. So we got to put him in F just because he hasn't showed up. Next, Kyle Schultz, the commissioner, the GOAT. He's S tier in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. One of the best batting averages in the league. and he's always feared when you're going up to pitch against him. So I think he's one of the obvious S tier players.
We talked about there only being a couple of them in the league. He's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Next, Drew Davis. Drew Davis, I don't like him a lot as a captain. I don't think he's a good captain. I don't really like his shenanigans either. I've never really pointed that out on this channel, but that's something like whenever I watch a game and Drew Davis is doing some of his classic Drew Davis shenanigans, I cringe a little bit. But he's hitting .296 from the plate, and that's undeniable. And 3 home runs. He's good.
He's an A tier player.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's an A tier player. He always has been. I don't think he's ever been an S tier player, and I don't think he's ever been a B tier player.
Yeah, I agree with that. Moving on, we have AJ Ackerman, the UDFA, and he's been good for the Magic this year. He's been better than a lot of the rookies that have been drafted. So I think that's something good. Obviously, he has a bigger role than he probably would on other teams because the Magic need depth and they like to use their depth. But I think Ackerman is a solid D tier or a C tier.
I give him D to C. The only reason I want to give him a C is because he's actually played and they like him.
Mm-hmm.
But statistically, he's around a D player. But I'll give him a D just because I think Sean Flynn's better.
Okay, yeah, he is hitting only,
He's hitting below 100.
Yeah, below 100.
I like him as a player, but yeah, he's a D player.
Next, we have Kurdi, who's hitting 111 this year. He's solid. He's not... actually, maybe not even solid. I think he's, okay. But, once again, I don't really understand why he's this player that's always memed on. But I've never gotten that. And I think he's just kind of a below-average MLW player.
Yeah, he's a D player.
Okay, second to lastly, we have RJ Walgate, who is hitting 0 from the plate, but, pitching is obviously a big deal. To me, he's A tier. He's exactly what Grant Miller is, but from the plate for the Magic.
Yeah, even if he was an average batter or an offensive player this year, he'd be S. He's just... From the limited at-bats he's got, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, that's the one thing. In my opinion, out of all these A tiers, he's the best player.
I would probably have to agree, yes. I would.
Yeah, because his pitching is undeniable.
It's so good. Even, as I said, even if he was if he was Sean Flynn from the offensive standpoint, he's probably an S tier player.
Yeah. Lastly, we have...
That's Alec Warda.
Alec Warda. I kind of blanked on his name. I like Alec Warda. He brings a lot of energy, super passionate. He's hitting 192, so it's kind of an average season for him. For me, he's a B tier player. He's kind of like Brendon Russel, but the smaller version, faster.
Yeah, he's always been a really good player. This season, though, a glaring issue has been strikeouts, whether looking or swinging.
Yeah, no, you're right about that.
Especially, he has the most strikeouts on his team. But, as I said, or you were saying, he's a spark plug. I definitely think B tier player.
Mm-hmm. I'd argue that he might be the worst B tier player, but he's kind of weird because he's not at Sean Flynn or Liam Jackson's level, but I don't think he's as good as Baranoski, Bonham, all those guys.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the difference between B and D, there's only 2 people separating them, and it's Liam Jackson and Sean Flynn.
Yeah.
But when you look at B, those are some elite players, and D are not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a pretty big drop off.
Yeah. So. Okay, so this is our tier list. Let us know what you guys think about it in the comments. We're going to leave this tier list on Tier List Maker if you want to, try it out yourself. There will be a part 2 of the NL players that will be dropping really soon, so, keep a lookout for that. And also, I know it was a longer video, so, if you made it all the way through, we appreciate you. Make sure to subscribe because we're always making MLW content like this here on Dynamic. Comment, what you thought of the tier list. What you think of the season so far, and yeah, see you guys later. Peace.